Hey everyone, welcome to Theolog. Totally forgot to record it earlier today. Thank you, Kathy, for reminding me. And I actually do have two questions I'm going to combine into one, and both are from Art, and they're history questions, so I'm excited to answer them. And the first question it was in response to one of my videos earlier this week where I talked about the reliability of the New Testament, and I mentioned just a little bit of history there. And Art asked me what took place between the Old Testament and the New Testament, and then he asked me yesterday. I've never thought about, but when did the Romans enter the Middle East and change everything? And pretty good questions, and they're related, right? Because at the end of the last book in the Old Testament, chronologically, is Nehemiah, and then nothing happens, right? They resettle in Jerusalem, and then it's over. And then the next time the story picks up in the New Testament, well, there's this whole new power going on, and the book isn't written in Hebrew anymore. It's written in Greek, like what's kind of happened. And this is like the type of history I love. So I'm going to try and keep it short and concise and not just go on tangents because I easily could. So the book of Nehemiah, I believe, was written around 300, 320. Which is an interesting time for it to happen. Maybe it was 400 actually, which is an interesting time because not soon after that, there was this guy that was born in Greece named Alexander the Great, who I'm sure you've heard of. So Alexander the Great ends up conquering the Persian Empire, and Nehemiah was written while the Jews were still subjects of the Persian Empire, but they were allowed to return to Israel, right, and build the walls and resettle the land there. And so, with the conquest of Persia, the Jews fell under the control of the Greeks, right, under Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great dies. His empire splits into 4 or 5 separate parts that are ruled by his generals. And then they do what everyone does, and they fight between each other, right? And Israel, or the Jews' land where they're at, changes hands between the person who set up shop in Egypt and the person who set up shop in Syria several times. Eventually, though, these powers are fighting each other, and then there's this other power that begins to rise in the West. And no one really is paying attention to them for a little while until they just happen to explode and defeat this other great power, Carthage, in the West. And they're like, whoa, these people are serious. And by that time, it's too late because the Romans are here. And so the Romans show up and they conquer all of the Greek city-states, and the last one being Egypt. And they do take Israel as well. One thing to note, I just remembered it and I completely forgot, is during that time of the Greeks controlling Israel, you get a rebellion. And this is the book of Maccabees in the Catholic Bible describes this, and it's important in Jewish history. This is where the Hanukkah story comes from, where there's a rebellion of the Jews against the Greeks because the Greeks start to impose their beliefs about religion on the Jews, and they end up setting up a shrine to Zeus, I believe, on the Temple Mount, and they tell the Jews that they can't circumcise their sons anymore and all that type of stuff, and it ends up causing rebellion by a famous guy named Judas Maccabeus, which is why Judas is such a famous name in the New Testament. Not just, the guy who betrays Jesus has the name, but if you look at a lot of other names in the New Testament, a lot of guys are named Judas, and that's because it was a famous name, and you'd name your kid after, this hero. What a name to change, right? You get this hero, and now it's like no one would name their kid Judas. So anyway, they're self-ruled, but they eventually fall again under the sway, I believe, of Egypt, and then Egypt is conquered by the Romans, and the Romans eat up Jerusalem, which is why they have a presence there. And that's kind of what happens in that brief period of time. During this time, the Jews continue to do the traditional rituals and things like that, waiting for a Messiah, right? There are a few books that are written, and those are included in the Catholic Bible, which is why if you're Catholic or you have Catholic friends and you open their Bible, there's this whole middle part called the Apocrypha, which is a few more books. Protestants cut that out because the Jews don't use it, so we were like, well, if the Jews don't use it, then why are we using it? And so we got rid of it. So that's what happened in terms of history. So the Romans show up and they start taking over everything, and that's when the New Testament starts. They've been in power by that time in Jerusalem for about 30 years, depending what part of the region you're in. One of the things the Romans would do, though, is they would set up client kings, and which would give people kind of the no one believed it, but the illusion that they were being ruled by a Jew, not Romans, even though the Roman governor is there too. So that's what's happened in between the time of the Old Testament and the New Testament in terms of history. If you have any more specific questions, feel free to ask me. But hope that answered your question. Sorry I got this out late, and I'll see you guys virtually or some of you in person on Sunday, and then I'll see the rest of you guys on Monday for our next Theolog. So see you guys around. Have a great Friday.